morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Eloquence webinar. Sorry for being a little bit late with the starting time. We had some technical difficulties. My name is Jelena, and I'll be moderating today's session. Today, we'll be discussing a very important topic. Tatiana will talk about evaluation LLM framework at Eloquence. I'm very happy to have with us Professor Tatiana Kalganova from Brunel University of London. She's an expert in AI, machine learning, and in intelligent systems. She will guide us today. Just a quick note before we begin. Feel free to post any questions in the chat throughout the session, and we'll address them in the Q&A part at the end. I think we might be missing some participants due to daylight saving time changes, but the webinar is being recorded, so everyone will be able to watch it later on our YouTube channel. So yes, Tatiana, thank you very much for joining us today. The floor is yours. Maybe you can tell us more about yourself and your role within the Eloquence project before the presentation. Then I leave the rest to you.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning for summer time. So I hope that I can see some of you got inside so on time. So changing the summer time, it's nice to start something nice in the morning. Okay, so today I'm going to speak about evaluation LLM framework we are currently developing here at Brunel University in ELOQUENCE. I'm Tatiana Kalganova from Brunel University, and I'm co-director of Research Center on AI, Social and Digital Innovation. A little bit about our center. The specific features of our centers is that our center is truly unique in terms of interdisciplinarity. Our center covers all interdisciplinary subjects, from technical, classical AI subjects we would expect to have, such as computer science, engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electronic engineering, but also it includes a lot of academics from soft sciences. Soft sciences we're referring to arts, law, business, economics, finance. So and this provides us a really good umbrella to work together in the context of AI. But also considering that center is already 5 years old, it allows us to literally change perspective to the way how we work and how we do our research methods. For example, in our engineering departments, where my technical background is technical background initially, we start to look and take into account such elements as trustworthiness, acceptance of AI models. We start to look on law compliance of design of AI systems prior even designing this, something that would not be happening for the last 20 years. So like sort of we would start to design the systems and we'll start to see how we can deploy them. Now, currently, we need to start to get a bit more all-around approach, and working together with colleagues from different disciplines, it allows us to understand all-around approach and challenges, not only in one area, but rounded approach. And this rounded approach lead us to the way where we can start to see different areas of our working. And you could see some examples of our work coming here. For example, the latest our work is in generative AI is a reproduction of Buddha using Gen AI techniques and using the descriptions of historical data and transcripts that has been used over centuries. Obviously, having AI deployed, we work in the area of agriculture, industrial manufacturing, you work on control and medical data and art. Now let's go back to a little bit more specifically. It's our EU project ELOQUENCE, and we are looking specifically on trustworthiness of LLM. Prior, we're getting to different ways. Currently, when we start to speak about LLMs, it means that some of you prefer to use ChatGPT, some of you prefer to use Copilot, some of you absolutely love Gemini, but all these elements is used for LLM. And I'm pretty sure that, tell me if I'm wrong, that when you try to put some of prompts and comments into any of these systems, you never get perfect answer what you want from the first attempt. So you really need to start to adjust, have a look how it's get in terms of the prompts adjustments, in terms of more clarifications before you get more clear answer as you would expect to be presented. The problems and issues that are arising from there is how can we make sure that when we prompt, we get responses from the first attempt, trustworthy. So basically we can start to rely them. And especially this is important when we start to speak about critically safety applications. It means you don't have a lot of errors, room for errors and mistakes, and you need to make sure that any of the systems that integrate agentic AI or LLM models, they have to provide reliable and trustworthy answers from the first attempt rather than you will try to get and see several prompts, because in critical safety applications, we are speaking more about priority of acting on the correct information. That's why trustworthiness in LLM is exceptionally important. And I think it's priority number one when we speak about critically safety application. And we'll start to focus on this one first before we move forward. So when we look on trustworthiness, is also what is important is because we are using LLM in different contexts, we are very often looking using LLM and agentic AIs currently as a customer services in dialogues, in responses for questions and answers. And we are looking into the ways how to provide and generate responses based on the queries. We will focus today only on several particular answers rather than several of them. And we will have a look on the way how LLM can find the answers. So I think by now I spoke to a lot of people, and I found that many of them is very much fascinated about what LLM can produce as the output of single prompts. But when they start to attempt to use it in professional environment, they found out that there are several difficulties they encountered. And some of the difficulties, it comes for adoption of LLM, the way how it's responds for the questions. From another point of view, for adoption of LLM comes the problems of responding in particular angle and using particular language rather than getting a wider rounded approach to respond to this. When we start to look on responses of LLM, it's quite important to understand how accurate they are. Previously, in any of classical machine learning approaches, we will have a data set where we can have a look and see, okay, these are the answers correct. So we can say that our network is 90% correct performance, or accuracy, it's coming for 96% of performance. But because when we start to work with large language models, we don't really know what data we are trained on. So we don't really know what we have been validated on. So we need almost like sort of start to revalidate and double check the accuracy LLM is producing every single time. But difficulties which is coming there is that even though that we have exactly the same data sets, the standard deviation of responses and a variety of responses is quite wide rather than very narrowed down, getting to several points. And because it's getting very wide down, I think this is the first time when we start to see that we need to get very active integration and use of human judgment in checking factuality of responses, rather than looking on only on the cases when LLM will be providing how accurate solution is. The area develops massively quickly. LLM has been built based on NLP, that has been existed for centuries, but the actual release of foundational large language models that could be widely used has been happened only in the last 2-3 years. So we are speaking about the super fast development of this area and making sure that we provide any evaluation frameworks that will allow the users and programmers to deliver reliable outcomes. When we start to get our initial results, we found out that our first LLMs were very much in line to the human judgments in terms of factual responses on open source data sets, where our top peak correlation was getting to 0.831 point. So it means that it's suitable, it's very good performance in line with human judgment, but we would expect it's a bit more higher and may be reliable when we know that LLM will be responding. In order to work on evaluation of faithfulness of LLM networks, we really need to start to think about what data sets are available, what data we can try on, because all these large models that has been released at the moment, we don't really know what data they have been trained on. So we need to understand how suitable and in what angle and how you could set up the system in such way that the chosen LLM model can be used in particular application. For these purposes, started to be released some of open source data sets that would that normally it allow us to summarize the data, sets and their performance. If you will have a look from the data sets over the last 5 years, a little bit longer. So it started to generate new type of measures on understanding how accurately LLM produces any output. The most common score that has been used quite often, it's actual factual score. So basically, if the facts has been identified correctly and how it has been used correctly. But also there are new type of evaluations has been used, and the data sets have been generated to validate this type of models. The difference is, if you could see that even though that we don't really know what data LLM has been trained on, we can see that there are purpose-built data sets that will provide you with one particular type of direction. For example, in Minnet-Scholl was introduced FACS score for model-generated biographies. So when we start to look on particular level of generation of biographies, where we can design and test LLM on particular cases. So we start to see that what is emerging the data sets, open source data sets that could be used to evaluate LLM performance. But at the same time, we are speaking about very narrow application area rather than considering the amount of material LLM has been trained to deliver its performance. If we speak about data sets that where already exist quite a bit of open source data sets which we can use, we can also start to see how can we evaluate and understand the accuracy, trustworthiness of the metrics of these data sets. And if we will start to look from this perspective, that we can see that evaluation metrics are emerging quite strongly in the last 6 years, It's n-gram evaluation metric. LLM as a judge is started to be used more and more often, and especially in the last 3-4 years, 3-4 months, not years. We are speaking now in this area, evaluation by months, not years, believe it or not, we speak how it goes. We start to see that LLM as a judge now has been used widely and more often in publications when we are looking on trustworthiness. On the top of this, we are looking on type of questions that could be answered. For example, the type of problems we are looking that could be answered. For example, question and answer problem where we are answering question and LLM needs to produce the answer. So we look on the type of variety of questions of metrics, evaluation metrics on question and answer. That we can have a look. Now let's have a look slightly different way is how can we look on question answering data sets on slightly longer answers. What type of data sets exist and what we can do. If you will have a look here on the left side the table, it shows us examples of data sets that would provide us the answer format is more entity-based format, and it will be looking on particular trivial, majority of them is focused on general knowledge on trivia question and answers, on wiki question and answers. Again, we are looking on retrieval of knowledge, using LLM for retrieval of knowledge rather than anything else. The problem is with LLM because when they try to retrieve the knowledge, there is no any temporal variable that would be responding and providing more clarification to this. Very often, even if we will ask the question may be correct, but it's not necessary in time frame specified in this. So that's why, for example, additional techniques needed to be used to evaluate how, for example, general knowledge, the answers has been responded. Again, when we start to look on automation or full faithfulness of metrics to see what the metrics is trustworthy can be used for trustworthiness, we can start to see that it's in addition to n-gram, we start to see emerging of lexical match. So lexical match means when we start to speak about particular phrases that has been used in general knowledge and question answer to respond to this. And the best automated metrics started to be performed and emerging for the last 2-3 years. It's LLM, using LLM as a judge. So we are speaking about now 2 roles of LLM. It's LLM for answering question and LLM for performing as a judge. How do we know that LLM produced the correct answer? Usually in here, we very often it's used accuracy and F1 metrics and human judgment correlation. You could see there is emerging already, even though that foundational large language models has been released not long time ago, but our major computer companies, there is an emerging trajectories how trustworthiness can be evaluated depending on the type of questions and type of cases can be looked at. And we can see, for example, how common data sets has been released to move and accommodate these elements. What is important currently is not only specific domain and general knowledge of LLM. More and more often, we started to look on how important and how reliable LLM performance will be in multilingual environment. So it means we are not looking on, when we speak about multilingual environment, it doesn't mean that we are expecting translation from one angle to another one, but we are expecting LLM, it's performing almost like bilingual or trilingual person, where you have a brain and inside of brain you have different parts of brain operate on different languages. So they don't translate in other cases, but they basically respond on different angles. This normally happens to the people who are very much fluent in 2 or 3 languages. In this case, they respond clearly from one to another language when they work on association base, rather than translating the queries from one to another one. The same approach and looking how it could be done is now investigated in multilingual environments. And in order to validate how multilingual LLMs are performing, the data sets for machine multilingual data sets has been formulated in the last 5-6 years. And you could really see that here we are not speaking anymore about faithfulness as 1 point. We're speaking about 3-point faithfulness, 5-point faithfulness, because here if you could see, validation has been done very much on human validation rather than any automated validation. So we are speaking about, so it means that we don't have any metrics and techniques that will allow us automated, reliable validation of responses on the languages. So we are speaking about very big gap at the moment. Still has not been emerged in the way where there is no clear techniques and technologies how to validate the multilingual data sets and responses in multilingual environment. For example, I can speak to you in English now, but later on I can say exactly the same phrases in Spanish, French, but we would expect LLM responding in Spanish and French rather than any other language. So we expect LLM responding in correct language, in addition to responding correctly to the question without using translation mechanisms. So it means that there is a big area for human translation, and there is a big area where we can have a look on how we can move forward in terms of automating of multilingual LLM performance. Okay, so now when we speak about machine translation faithfulness metrics, if you could see, it's imagined very much similar cases. We are looking on faithfulness metrics coming through LLM-based, many cases, embedding-based, and then GRAM. So you could see there is already more or less closest clear consensus in the way how to evaluate. So the most and the best automated metrics that performs the best is at the moment has been cited in most of the papers. It's LLM-based metric. So, but if you will have a look on metric of measurements, we are still looking because of there is no any solid metrics has been defined to be trustworthy. Metric for measurements that could provide us how accurate information is still, we are speaking about human judgment correlation. So it means whenever we start to work and validate the data sets, we are speaking about human judgment correlations and anything else coming around. So once we start to look on the challenges and open problems in the area of trustworthiness of LLM, we start to see, and actually quite a lot of work has been done already in mitigation hallucination in LLM. So introduction of RAGs, introduction of some metrics and correlations that provide us a bit of more reliable cases. And I think you as the users of common LLM models such as Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, you could see that the main producers of LLM models have reacted to mitigation of hallucination and currently providing the references where the information is taken from when summarizing the information. When we start to look on further, even though that we have existing metrics already in the areas that have been specified here, we can basically notice that there are several issues with existing metrics. The reason why many different metrics are used correctly, because even if we are looking on trustworthiness, metrics must combine and demonstrate a lot of different metrics from different angle, and considering that this will be evaluated from different angles, we are looking into such cases as how to understand that faithfulness score is correct inside of LLM evaluators, and it has been defined and identified that faithfulness score is highly dependent on the type of prompt generated. So we are speaking about that the type of prompt and slight change in the prompt significantly changes values of faithfulness score. So how to make sure that in the way how we can respond to LLM, we can basically increase faithfulness score, and prompt will be less dependent on us, on the way how it's coming and work. In terms of future directions, currently is a lot of faithfulness evaluation has been done on very short Q&A summarization domain, but very limited work has been done in long form of question and answers, also in the form of dialogues, where we can start to build via faithfulness metrics in the way we will move around. And remember that we are speaking about faithfulness in faithfulness only. And also multilingual translation. So we would basically try to see how we can use and adapt metrics from different languages. And at the same time is basically evaluating and improving the performance of LLM in multilingual environment, while measuring this trustworthiness in multilingual cases. One of the ways to move forward as we started to look and work in the cases is we start to see how can we improve the level of trustworthiness when we introduce automated metrics. We started to investigate the fusion of existing automated metrics on trustworthiness. We considered such cases as LLM as a judge, Rouge, AMR, graph representation, and more. And we were evaluating how to closely align with human judgments and determining whichever LLM is being trustworthy or not. When we were looking in performance and combination of different metrics, we look on 4 different areas of improving this. It's short form QA, long form QA, conversational QA, summarization. So we for all these 4 areas, we have introduced a ELOQUENCE fused data set that is basically allows us to accommodate all 4 areas and have ability to have connections and resolving different problems within one data set. If we'll start to have a look in the way of our performance, you could really see that across all 4 domains, short form QA, long form QA, conversational QA, and summarization, we have managed to improve the trustworthiness performance when we used a fused metrics. So it means that even those that standalone metrics perform really well, the fusion of metrics demonstrate the clear performance and clear advantages of using in understanding of trustworthiness. This is one of the findings of our EU ELOQUENCE project, that it basically provides us the basis to further formulations of evaluation of LLM in the area of explainability and bias. Thank you very much. Please get in touch.
Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation. I think you covered quite a lot of important aspects on this topic. And I would like now to invite our audience to share some questions they have in the chat. And while they're doing that, I have a few questions for you, if that's okay. So to begin with, From your perspective, what is currently the biggest challenge in making a language truly trustworthy? Would you say that challenge is more technical or maybe more related to user perception and trust? That's one thing I want to ask you. And the other thing is, from your experience, what is maybe the biggest misconception people have about trustworthy AI?
Okay, so let's have a look about trust. Okay, I'll give you one example which I think everyone has been using so far. In order for us to trust technology, we need to start to see that we are getting reliable answers correctly, consistently. I'm sure that all participants in this room, they used already quite for years Google Maps. So basically, whenever you want to go anywhere, you use Google Maps. Okay, so Google Maps is become previously when the Google Maps has been emerged, people normally will try different apps, different performances, and will see which is more accurate and the most response to this case. But as soon as you start to use Google Maps and you see that it's consistently reliable and consistently produces very reliable answers, you stop double checking. So you start to rely on it rather than just checking what is going on and what the answers. Your alternative is getting too narrow because you start to trust. In LLM, we are not at the level yet that we can trust fully, and that's why a lot of work needs to be done yet, and it hasn't been done because many areas we still need to uncover and discover how to make it more trustworthy. But it provides acceptable results for us to work in everyday life, but not necessary and critically safely applications. So it means that we can use it for simple things that would satisfy us and getting on. But whenever we start to speak about the stakes of human life or some emergencies arriving, trust is not sufficient for us to integrate this easily. And trust is not sufficient simply because even in everyday tasks, very often we can still see the responses are not correct. You still need to adjust massively prompts. You still need to use chain of prompts of looking on responses, how correctly they will be responding and which direction they will be moving. So it means that we are, as a society, we are still adapting and learning how to use it in a suitable way, as well as foundational model LLM models developers are trying to build on experience of people using it to eliminate some issues that has been uncovered. And because I think it's the first time I can see when research goes really, really in front and parallel with industrial deployments, there are a lot of research needs to be uncovered when industry is already looking for the answers. Usually, previously, in any other areas and any other epoch, what would happen? You will start with research. Research is going on. We got some findings. We built some sort of, we done some feasibility studies. We built some sort of systems, trial systems. We see what it works, what is not, and after then businesses will pick up and basically capitalize in the form of business and new services, new products, and so on. Here we see completely different way of manipulation. We can see that research is really goes in parallel with development and releases. So it's also like sort of, it's not clear who is catching up or what. So it's almost like sort of companies need to do on their own R&D because there is no any open answers. Universities, they are still catching up with R&D, uncovering the answers at the same time. So as a result, you could really see quite a lot of publications now emerging from industrial environment in the topics, while universities and R&D centers are trying to catch up as well. And because of this major efforts from both sides, industry and university, to find these solutions. I'm sure we'll find them quicker than any other research areas, because everyone is looking for capitalize a lot, because the LLM are considered as emerging technologies that will become a major enabler, technological enabler in many business processes. And that's why, for example, security, privacy, and trustworthiness, bias, explainability, it's become as a priority to resolve the issues. This is considering the trust, and I'm sure that once the issues are resolved, once it starts to produce reliable, consistently results. Remember, I told you that the responses and trustworthiness metrics are not, at the moment, depends the way how you formulate the question, and the answers are not stable to say that how stable they are. Once this stability has been established and pushed forward, we can start to speak about trusting more responses on the way how it comes. Regarding of main misconception, LLM is not a magic box. So it's a black box that many people will say we may not understand what's happening, but it's not a magic box. So it doesn't know everything and doesn't produce a lot of results. What I can see at the moment, because I work with I'm lucky to work with younger generation of university students, a lot of students, especially those who don't have any experience and being an expert to working in the society, they started blindly following the answers of LLM. And this is, I think, my main misconception and main danger, because technology is not yet emerged to the level where you will basically get one answer and you use it as a trustworthy answer. But some of population of our society started already to use it as a trustworthy one, and this misconception can lead to many of dangers that we need to take into account when we are looking into the areas.
Thank you. I see our audience is shy. They're not asking any questions, but I have one more quick question for you before I let you go. What would you say is Eloquence's main contribution to advancing trustworthy and explainable AI?
As a part of Eloquence, we have defined already all classification metrics of trustworthiness in the current landscape. We also developed fused metrics and evaluated with fused metrics combination of several different fused metrics in the area of trustworthiness. This has been done as a part of Eloquence parts project. Also, we have developed fused data set that allows us to evaluate and use it different problems, like sort of, for example, you could see we in the previous slide we looked in different form of problems. So basically it allows us to work on one data set, unique data set, to compare them together. And currently we are working on bias and explainability metrics before we are formalizing the overall evaluation framework that hopefully will bring us combination of not separate metrics. At the moment, everyone is working in the area of trustworthiness separately, explainability separately, bias separately, but we are hoping to bring contribution as a part of Eloquence of overall understanding on roundabout approach on evaluation of LLM responses, not only from trustworthiness, but the quality of explainability, bias, multilinguality, and so on.
Thank you, Tatiana. Okay, I see. I see one raised hand. Yes.
Tatiana, thank you very much. This is Akram from Brunel. I mean, you bring in a very, very interesting discussion about faithfulness and trust. And I think it's always very, very complicated for me because I never fully appreciate the difference to some extent. I mean, if you could explain a little bit more, because I think faithfulness from a technical perspective is what one has within the system itself, is what the system does, the accuracy of the system and how one could look in. the internal reasoning of the system. And trust is more to do with I suspect, people's feelings about how that develops over time with the system itself that utilizes the faithfulness nature of it. So one is human judgment, and I think, if I'm, correct me, I mean, expand on it, and the other one is a more technical property or attributes associated with the actual system itself that one is dealing with, and one can have benchmarks associated with it, and it's a very narrow way of looking at the system, but an accurate way, something that we can look at in detail. And then it becomes somehow over time, one develops, or humans develop, or human judgment gets developed, and you develop more confidence towards the system itself, but never 100%. Is that the right way to look at it, Tatiana, or should I read it, or there are different ways?
I think you're getting in very right ways to do this. So you cannot trust the system if it doesn't produce very reliable answers, or like sort of when we start to speak about trustworthiness, if it produces metrics and standard deviation of these metrics are getting too wide, depending on how the question has been formulated about the same topic or the same object. So you cannot rely on these answers. So that's why, for example, before we start to look on the trust of people in the using LLM, we need to start to make sure that LLM produces the responses that will be reliable, and they will be less dependent on or formulation of a question, and they will be more about responding for the roundness of the topic, if you want. And at the moment, we are not yet at this stage when you will go to any of foundational LLM model, you ask one question and you will get straight away answer, and you're happy about this. And because you're not happy about this and this answer has not been responded, it means we haven't yet reached the evaluation of LLMs to the level, produce the outputs of LLMs to the level which would be sufficient for the human judgment as correct output. And considering that we are working with lexical grammar, we are working with more complex areas rather than numbers, where you could basically, on numbers, we can calculate numbers only. It's more wider problem that would be in any of classical machine learning problem happening. But you're right, it's two-folded answer, and two sides must be resolved. But unless you get accuracy up, trustworthiness metrics going up, the trust will not be developed on humans.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tatiana. That's wonderful. Good luck.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Oh, I was muted. Thank you. Are there any other questions? No. Okay, if not, we'll be closing this session. So thank you everyone for joining today's session and for the great questions. And special thank you to Tatiana for sharing her insights. I honestly learned quite a lot. And if you would like to learn more about the Eloquence project, you can check our website and social media. And yes, thank you again. And we hope to see you soon at some of other upcoming events. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you for invite, Elena, and being with me for all this time, and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.